All right. I am super excited to start our Miss Christine on with us. So we're starting our interview series, which is going to be awesome. Hello. You
Hi.
are here, everybody, and I'm sure you're on your live too, but this is Christine McAlister, who is one of my dear, dear friends. We have known each other for almost a decade, and through that, we have built businesses and raised babies and been through all kinds of stuff together. So I wanted to invite her on and just have a really just real life conversation, because I think that needs to happen so much more often, because her and I both have experienced so many things business wise, family wise, that a lot of women go through and just don't feel comfortable talking about. So you can trust us to openly talk about it. We are open books. But Christine, thank you for doing this. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little
Thank
bit more about
you
you?
for having me. I'm looking extra shiny today because,
Yeah, like I'm very glowy because this window in
Yeah.
the back. I'm looking very angelic today.
Yes, we'll go with that. I love that. So, yeah, my name is Christine McAlister, and my business helps awesome entrepreneurs like Dr. Shannyn to grow their businesses and their influence by being amazing podcast guests. And I have been an entrepreneur for 17 years and a mother for a lot less time than that. So I can definitely, I'm excited to have this conversation. It's not being had enough. And I think a lot of women feel alone or like there's something wrong with them. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So I just got off another interview I was doing for a summit, and we were talking about how I really wish that burnout was like a one-time deal, right? Like, oh, I had that one time I hit burnout and then I learned all of my lessons and I never did it again. But sadly, that is not how it goes. And I know both you and I have had multiple times in our careers and our motherhood and all of these things that different types of burnout, right? I was going through and telling my story how my first level of burnout that I hit was very physical, right? I started getting after the birth of my son and growing our brick and mortar chiropractic business. I got very physical burnout, right? I was exhausted, migraine headaches, joint pain, adrenal fatigue, my thyroid went crazy, all of the physical stuff that I then fell in love with functional medicine and testing and figuring out all of that. And I really wish that that could be the end of my story, right? It's like I had that big burnout, I figured out all the testing stuff, I'm helping all of these women, and never happened again. But it did, and big time. And my second round was very emotional, right? I really hit a level of, I felt like my soul was tired. Like I couldn't handle my emotions. I felt like I was losing my purpose, things that I used to love, what I would consider my calling in life. I felt empty and I just couldn't figure out why everything felt so dark and heavy. But it was because I allowed such a deep level of burnout without taking care of myself again, and had to really go back and deal with the emotional stuff, the traumas, the childhood traumas, the things I didn't deal with or release, to really get that emotional side of my healing. Which is why now the conversation I want to have today is, why is it so important to do both, right? You need to prioritize your physical root causes, but there's also that emotional piece, that emotional root cause. And if you really want full life freedom, if you want to be a healthy, well-functioning woman, you have to learn to address both, or it's going to bite you in the ass, right? Multiple times, like you and I have both been through. So I know I tell my story a lot. I would love for them to hear. You have a very powerful, long story. So give whatever version of that you feel comfortable sharing. But what's your experience been with burnout, with motherhood, with building businesses? Like, how has that affected you?
Yeah. So I would say probably my first recognition of burnout as an entrepreneur, as a full-time entrepreneur, came shortly after you and I met, which is when I went through my big T trauma of losing my first daughter in a full-term stillbirth. And I had been feeling like I was leading up to being burnout in my previous running an online marketing agency. And yet it was kind of underlying enough that I just ignored it because I didn't know what it was and I focused on other things, right?
Touch
So,
on that really quick because you didn't know what it was. I feel like so many women, right? They just say, we're busy, we're moms, we're tired. But like, can they really identify, like, no, I think I'm going into burnout right now?
right. How? I mean, right? Like we're not taught that. That's an awareness that we're not taught. Just like I know for me, it wasn't really taught much about my body or how cycling or, you know, the different phases, things that you talk about. Um, and and so what I knew was that like you, I was kind of losing interest in what I was doing. And when but I kept pushing through. And then after I lost my daughter, I gave myself permission to grieve and to look at what was really going on. And I realized that that was kind of, it was calling me to do something different and to heal, right? So both things, I needed to shift what I was putting my energy toward in the world. And I also needed to look at my body in a new way, right? Which you helped me with.
Yeah. So I love that though. Like give yourself permission to do something different. One of the things you and I have both done a lot in the time that I've known us is we've recreated in different seasons what that felt like, right? Just in the time I've known you, I think you've been through 3 different business types, right? I have too. But being okay that if something's not serving you anymore, maybe it did for that season of your life and that's beautiful. But being okay saying like it's time to change, it's time to shift up something that brings me back purpose and passion. I think that's valuable to give people, right? It's permission. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, choose something else. Like you have unlimited options and that's okay.
Exactly. There's so much space to be able to do that. And I think so often we are the ones putting our own limitations and our own blinders on, right? Or stopping ourselves because of self-doubt. And also, if you're not feeling well and you're feeling burnt out, like your body, your brain isn't going to let you see those possibilities, right? Because it's trying to protect you.
Yep. Yeah, I've been having that conversation so much lately. Your body is doing things to protect you. And a lot of times it's stemming from you not feeling safe for any number of reasons, right? Childhood trauma, loss, physical imbalances in your body that your brain, your nervous system is saying, hey, something's wrong. If you don't feel safe in your body, you are not going to be able to heal, be inspired, have energy, feel very ease and joy, and those things come to you easily if your body is literally in fight or flight, if it feels like it's in danger. And so many of us, just because of the pace of modern living, raising babies and trying to create businesses at the same time, all of these things, we are literally in a state where our body never feels safe. And we wonder why we don't have the life we've always dreamed of, right? Why aren't I not happy? Why don't I have more energy? Why is the weight not just falling off? Because you're in fight or flight and your body cannot do that in fight or flight. So learning to identify that and then having very real tactics to help you through that, right? I know that's something that you've done several times, different things, right? Every season requires something different. So talk about that first time. What did you do differently? How did you start to make shifts and changes to get back on track?
Well, you have been very key along the way. So thank you. I think every time it's been a new level of being willing to do deep work, right? Like being willing to let myself be supported, being willing to kind of do the things that I had always resisted, like slowing down, like learning how to breathe, learning how to meditate, right? Doing food sensitivity testing, hormone testing, understanding that it's in my head and it's also in my body, right? I just like, I'm anxious because I went through this trauma, you know? And I think that like, there's just so much that we are taught and told we just need to figure out or we need to take meds for or whatever. And I'm still very much unpacking stuff. And that was 7 years ago, right? Yeah. Both with that and also with my childhood and these other things in my life that, you know, are still affecting me.
So you mean it's not a one and done? You don't just get like the magic meditation and it all just falls to the side?
Rip it up by the root, throw it on the burn pile.
Yeah. But that's, I wish. I really wish though, right? And people will say that it's like, oh, well, I was doing so good and now I feel like, you know, these things are coming back again. we are humans having a very human experience, and things are going to keep coming up, and there's going to be new lessons, and there's going to require different versions of you in every different phase. And knowing that and understanding that and being okay with that. I feel like that's something I had to really learn, is who I am now is going to be different than who I was 2 years ago. And that's okay. Who does me right now need, right? What does me right now need? What does my life in this season need to look like to support the healthiest, happiest version of me? And it has looked so different. And it's not that one was necessarily wrong or better than the other. It's I have to adapt and evolve as life changes, as my physical abilities change, and not seeing that as weakness or not seeing that as frustrating, right? I get that a lot. It's like, oh, I'm so frustrated. Like I've been doing all this work and I still have these things popping up. And they're gonna, right? I hate to tell you, like they're gonna keep popping up, but you learn new tools. That's your body telling you, hey, what served you last time isn't serving you now. Let's look for something new, right? Maybe it's a new level of testing. Maybe it's a new type of brain balancing or nervous system balancing. You need something different in that season. So if things that you feel like you've dealt with continue to come back up, it's because it's time for you to pivot and adapt as a human again and start making other changes. So if you start looking at it that way, it's not a frustration. It's getting really in tune with, oh, I get it. When my body does this, it means I have to go back and reflect on how am I living my life? Where are my values? Where are my boundaries? What does my schedule look like? And what needs to be different now that's not serving me anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I used to be the same way. I think we all are, right? It's that like black and white, like, oh, I'll just fix it. Then I'll move on with it and everything will be great. Well, that would be awesome. And like, we continue to get exposed to stuff. We continue to, you know, go to new levels, right? Like you have a 7-figure business. I'm working toward that. And one of the things that that requires is like, who am I being, right? Because the reason that I burned out multiple times is because I was more focused on the doing, right? And believe that I would get happy and I would relax when I got there. Well, that's not the case, right? So I think most of us are trained because we live in a culture created by, you know, dominated by men who just accomplish things by doing. And that's, I would love to hear your take on that in terms of nervous system and, you know, emotional health and all of those things.
So I've just having probably 5 different times in the last week had this conversation about building it on your terms. So personally, I have always, like my husband and I have worked together our entire married life, right? So we've been married 12 years and we've built a business. We met in chiropractic school. So we've literally spent our entire adult life building businesses together. My mentors have always been men, wonderful mentors, very successful people, but I was coached by men. I was building a business with a man, and I was taught to do it very masculine. I was taught to do it very go, 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 be the best, put in the hours, do the stuff, very hustle culture, and would be shamed if you weren't, right? We were literally told you don't take vacation, you don't take days off, if you don't hit this number, you don't leave the office. And that was just ingrained in us over and over and over again. And I'm certain that contributed to my first level of burnout, because a woman, truly, physiologically, mentally, we are not designed to work like that. A man can go, go, go under high pressure and high stress and have it affect his hormones 0%, because their stress hormones and their male hormones don't compete for each other. A woman, our bodies are designed differently. We're supposed to be more at ease. We're supposed to be more nurturing. When you're stressed, when you're busy, it physically, literally physiologically tanks your hormones and creates a bunch of other health issues. But we're never told that. We're told if you don't, you're lazy. You're not putting in enough hours, right? The 1,000 or whatever it is, like how many hours do you have to put in before you're successful? And that's outdated. That is no longer relevant to where we are now, because I can honestly tell you my business is a whole lot better when I work less hours and I prioritize me and I'm happy, healthy, and energetic. I get way more inspiration. I get great ideas. I can show up way better than when I'm freaking exhausted and don't want to be there and don't want to be doing it. You can't create abundance out of that place. But we have to start talking about that. You don't have to do it like the men. That's great for them.
Yeah.
But we get to choose to do it different.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think the thing to remember too is like, we're literally writing the playbook. Like this did not exist for our mothers.
No.
And
Well, female entrepreneurship in general is a very new concept, but we're still considered a minority, which is crazy, right? Like that's just not what it is anymore. But we have never in the course of history had so many women out there doing it. And this is up to us. And I feel very strongly about this. It's up to women like you and I to teach them the way to do that, that protects them, right? That protects their body, that protects their mental health and preserves their life, right? To still enjoy your family, to still have time for fun, to be able to allow yourself to do those things and build the business. And it's not that, here's what I think is so important to acknowledge. It's not that we don't hit burnout. It's that we get better at acknowledging it when we first start seeing signs and learning for us individually, well, what does that mean? Now, what can I go back and support, change, test, do, whatever, so that you can pivot and avoid full burnout because you just get better at acknowledging and being aware of what your body's asking for in that season, right? So it's not that we don't get to the point where we hit the plateau where we start feeling it. That's the warning sign, right? Have your tools, have your tips, have your people, right? Have the people you go to for help when you start feeling that so that we can correct it before it becomes the huge burnout like both you and I have had, right? The ones that take months to crawl out of. Years for me, I was in full on burnout for 2 years and I was too embarrassed to talk about it. So I suffered in silence for 2 years because I thought it's what I was supposed to be doing, right? It was noble. I was building a business. I was working hard. When I literally lost 2 years of my life because I was too proud to admit that I was struggling so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, and when you have young kids, like everybody needs you. And we've been trained also to put everyone else first. So clients, family, kids, all the things. And then you lose your health and you're like, well, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter, what everybody else. If you can't work, if you can't get out of bed, whatever the thing is, like it's perspective shift.
And you actually texted me that, and I thought that was so powerful. We can say it all we want, right? I teach this till I'm blue in the face, right? That if health has to be priority, you need to put yourself first. Like we can say it 1,000 times over, but until you actually get into that position where your health is at risk and you're like, holy shit, right? Like I should have been doing this all along because now I'm in crisis and it's going to take a whole lot more time, effort, and attention to pull ourselves out of that. And you messaged me that and it said, I am finally realizing, right, that my health really is number one, above hitting the goals, above the numbers, above all of those things. Because when you physically can't, what do you do now?
Yeah, right. 100%.
And I think so many people, women especially, feel like that, right? And then it's not until you get to that place, but then you just think you're crazy, right? Then it's like, well, it's because I'm too busy, or self-care, I didn't get enough massages this month. It's like, that's not what it's about. If that's your version of self-care, great. That's not what it's about. It's about making sure your mental health is right. It's about healing the crap that's still there. It's about going back and addressing your childhood trauma. It's about releasing the abuse. There's so many things that go into this whole self-care that are so much deeper than just go get a manicure, right? Go get a massage. Like that's not what it's about. It's about actually prioritizing you for the first time ever, because most of us never have.
Yeah, totally. I was talking to one of my mentors and like I've said some version of this all along, but she, reflected it back to me, which is this whole idea of they talk about business, like building a business being hard work. Yes. And the real hard work is all the inner work. Right?
Yes,
like,
always.
Really. Because if you're a high achiever, then you like to work. You get joy from it. You enjoy checking things off the list and doing new things. And that's the comfort zone, right? Where we're uncomfortable is going, oh, what messages did I pick up when I was 2 that are still driving the show, even though they were misinterpreted, right?
And do you notice when you work with, like when I work with more high achieving females, they hate that could be the answer, right? Like that's like the annoying piece is like, tell me what to eat, tell me how to exercise, tell me what herbs to take. But it's almost like this resistance of like, but don't tell me I have to go back and deal with, what my dad said to me when I was 3. But you have to, if you want full life freedom, if you want to actually heal and build the business and get the abundance, like you have to deal with that stuff.
Yep. 100%. Because it's in your unconscious, your subconscious, however you refer to it, which is way more powerful than your conscious awareness. And whether or not you think it is 100% running the show, right? So for me, I had this story of like, I get my worth from my work. And I thought I had worked on it consciously, but obviously I hadn't worked on it unconsciously. So, you know, when I suddenly found myself unable to work anymore, then I had this like come face to face with this like, oh my gosh, like really, what am I going to do to come back differently? Because that got me where I am now.
Yeah. But what got you to here in both ways, right? What got you to the level of success you have, right? You're a very successful woman. What got you there is great, but that's not going to get you to the next level or the life that you enjoy. So it comes back to that. I acknowledge it. I'm so thankful for what I've learned and what I've went through, my mentors in the past. Like that got me to here. That taught me a lot of valuable lessons. But from this point forward, what no longer serves me? Yeah. And what do I get to choose for this next version of me that feels really good? That's something I'm really focusing on in this level of life is what feels really good. Not that I'm forcing it, not that I'm putting in the effort too much to get things done, but just what's in alignment with what I want right now. And doing more of that and truly trying to get rid of or delegate as much of the other stuff as I can so I can really stay in that sense of ease and flow so that I can do my best work, right? Like you can't do it all and do it all well. Figuring out what is in each season, right? It's different. So do you have something right now that you feel like just feels really good or inspiring for you right now?
Yeah, a couple of things. So one of the things, so some new team members who are better experts. So that it's all late because, you know, like you have and so it's like stuff's not getting done, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we change that? How do we take really good care of the people in our community? And one of those is like, okay, now there's a new level of delegation, like you said.
Yep.
Also, you know, this has always been such an edge for me because it's definitely the opposite of how I was taught and what was modeled for me. But like beginning to ask myself, how can I put myself first? How can I put myself first? Right. And so some of that is, for me, it's travel without the kids to be around, you know, like-minded people that energize me. Yeah. And it's dialing in a couple of things like sleep, and, you know, upping my nutrition game again with your help, right? Because I think for me, I've got continue to have a lot of healing to do from having long COVID and gut stuff and all of that. And so it's like, I'm definitely a person who like wants the quick fix, like, oh, just let me feel better now. Right. Yeah. And it's harder. It's been harder for me probably because I have always been so like go. I just need the thing to prop me up now. To now that I'm 40, looking at like, okay, what can I slow down and be gentle with myself and like ease into, right? So reading more, like doing breath work, right? Yeah. Starting the mornings with meditations. If I'm feeling anxious, I don't start with work to make me feel better. I start with meditation until I feel better, and then I do the work.
Yes. Yep. But it's creating the life that fits you right now. And however that looks for you, which is so hard for so many people. So I love it. Okay. I want you to leave us with, if you could speak to a woman right now who is feeling like she's probably going into burnout or starting to feel emotional, or her body is not doing what she wants, whatever it is, right? Just those first signs of burnout. What would be your best advice for her?
I think you reach out to Shannyn and team, right? Because one of the biggest things for me was to be able to see on paper that there was something physiologically going on that validated how I was feeling. I'm a very intuitive person, but I think I've also learned to be very disconnected from my body and to prioritize productivity, which I had this realization in the shower the other day. Productivity is literally like, has the word product in it. So it's like treating yourself like a machine that puts out products. Instead of as a human being who is here to have a fulfilling life. And so it's probably going to be things that feel really uncomfortable for you. Like, I'll give you an example. This week I have I have a really full week, and I have 2 half days blocked out, one to go to a bar class in person and another one to take a horseback riding lesson. And every time I look at my calendar, I'm like, should I cancel those? I'm like,
nope.
I'm
Don't
not.
you dare cancel those.
Because I will 100%, people will book on my calendar. And so it's like, nope, blocked, staying blocked, because I put those there before for a reason, right? And how can I do more of that, right? So that, like you said, I have the space, I'm enjoying life rather than getting to the end of the workday and feeling like I have nothing to give my kids because I'm so tired and burnt out.
Yeah. That was on this last time of this more emotional breakdown. I said that I was like, I am devastated that my clients, my people all day long get the best of me, right? They get the encouragement, they get the energy, they get all the stuff from me. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure my kids only hear me say, Mommy's tired, Mommy's head hurts, not right now. It's like, why did they get that version of me that I would never give anybody else, right? I would never show up like that for a client. Why on earth do I think it's okay to show up like that for my family? And that's when it hit me. It's like, oh, heck no. Like, I've got to make some serious changes because there's no way that can be the version that they get of me because I'm spending it out everywhere else, right? Like just figuring that piece out. That's so huge. And I know a lot of people feel like that. So I really hope it's encouraged somebody. If you are a woman who is trying to do it all, seriously, you can have it all. It just takes prioritizing yourself, which can be painful and uncomfortable, but also making sure that whatever your life looks like right now suits the version of your life, the version of you that you're in right now. And for a lot of you, if you really sit down and think about it, I bet you there's a lot of stuff that no longer serves you, that you shouldn't still be doing, that you could probably delegate so that you can create more of that space for the things that energize you, that you love, that help you heal and don't just continue to drain you. So I love that. If you are somebody who wants more exposure in your business, Christine is the best at the powerhouse method, which is getting the podcasting, teaching you how to be the best podcast guest, connecting you with these people. Oh my gosh, reach out to her if your goal this year is to get more exposure. She's your lady. She has been so helpful for me for many, many years, and I just love her so much. So thank you. Thank you for taking time today and speaking some life into these people.
Thank you for having me.